I don't know if it's looking this way out. I think we're doing just there. You don't know. Bill?
Here at the Fairfax Station Railroad Museum, a team of Boy Scouts are replacing old ties beneath the tracks supporting the station's caboose.
Yeah, you ready?
This was an Eagle project for me. It's an opportunity for me to help me get my Eagle Award. It's the highest award for Boy Scouts.
The tools and methods the Scouts are using are similar to those used by the American railroads well into the 20th century.
What we're doing here is pretty close to what they did.
Modern, even now, setting rail is pretty much the same. It hasn't hardly changed since the start of it. It's usually pretty simple. They'll put down the rail bed before they even really, they'll grade the rail bed, and then they'll go through and they'll put down an initial layer of ballast is what they actually call it, is what the term they use for the rock and material that they put under it. Then they'll lay out the rails on top of the ballast without having anything between them. And then they'll go through and set all of the rail on top of the ties, and then they'll come through, spike it all down before the ties are even filled in between it.
The tools used for track maintenance in the old days were simple as well.
This is a spike hammer. And the ones I'm used to had a longer handle, there's different kinds, and a round end barrel on both ends. So it looked like just a giant T. But this is also a spike hammer, just a different style of it.
Show them the hammer, show them how that works.
The rail spike hammer is used on the rail spikes, of course, but the purpose of the rail spike hammer and having the long head, the really narrow head, is that way you still have the weight behind the head, and you keep it all centralized, and you have it really narrow so that you can keep the length on it, so that when you hit, you're not able to hit the handle of the hammer on the rail itself because it's so close to the rail.
When people use sledgehammers, they tend to come up and come over. When you were using spike hammers, it's actually a figure-8 motion. They would come up one way and then down the other. I can't, down that way and then down that way. And so they would just do a figure-8, and they could walk along hitting those spikes as fast as they could operate the figure-8. This is a railway jack. It's got multiple functions. This is for jacking something up high. I mean, just like you, if you're lifting up, putting rails on a rack at a bridge or something. Most of the time where we were, we'd be using this lower end of the jack. And just to give you an idea of this, it's massively heavy. So you'd put it underneath there, and then so you dug out a way, put the jack under, jack the tie up using this. Now the handle of this jack is actually the same claw bar that you saw used in other things, and so you're using that to do the jacking. So we would jack the tie up, setting it here, and until it got high enough, then we start shoveling the rocks and things underneath it, and when we got enough, then we put the nail in, and then we'd shove more under and tamp it down even more. But massive jack, one of the most dangerous things, because if you're jacking a rail, which we sometimes had to do, jacking the whole rail up, you'd have probably 4 of these in different spots lifting it, and if any one of them wobbled or got rid of, you're dealing with a ton of, literally a ton of metal coming down at a high rate of speed.
Anybody's finger under there?
So don't be under it. Yeah, and so it's always a scary operation because it's not a big surface, and if anything moved, you could really have problems.
Track maintenance today is a more automated process. But it's projects like these at places such as Fairfax Station that can help preserve the heritage of American railroads.
Believe it or not, in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Okay, get all the nose picking down there.
That's why